Gaura Bhakta Jaya Srinath Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Oh Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Vrindavan Ram, Jaya Vrindavan Ram, Vrindavan Ram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Vrindavan Ram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Vrindavan Ram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, 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 Radhe Shyam, Radhe Jaya Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Jaya Radhe Shyam, Radha Saraswati Hari, 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 Gauramika, 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 Shri Gauramika, 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 Jaya Gauramika, Responsibility for the His and the States Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Ramacharya Srila Vilas Thakur ki, James and Holy Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasati Sri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki, Ganga Mai Jamuna Mai ki, Bhakti Devi Tulasi Maharani ki, Vrinda Devi ki, Vrindavan Mathura Dham ki, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Goku Gopinath Sakund Radha Kund Giraj Govardhan Maharaj ki, Krishna Balaram ki, Jai Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Bharani ki, Radha Sadat Bihari Ji Bhagavan ki, Jai Srinath Ji Gopal Ji Bhagavan ki, Jai Shri Shri Gaurnitai Bhagavan ki, Jagat Guru Shri Prabhupada ki, Jai Gaur Sitanath Premanand all glory Gauranga, all glory to Lord.
You're not in charge here? Yeah, well, we just looked over here. Yes, because we're cut off from other people. This is a little, the voice is a little lower. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Welcome to the Hare Krishna temple on the day of auspicious celebration for Govardan Puja. Thank you very much for coming. We'll talk a little bit about Lord Krishna in his pastime of lifting Govardhan Hill. I'll read a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. You're familiar with the Srimad Bhagavatam? Yeah? Okay, good. Which describes the pastimes and activities of Lord Krishna. And then there was a request by Maheshwara Prabhu that we discuss a little bit about the background of this special deity here, Sri Gopal Nathji, who's lifting Govardhan Hill with his, which hand is that? Left hand, yeah. Little finger, left hand. Okay. So hopefully we have a little, it's a little short time. Okay. So ordinarily I read the Sanskrit, but because time is short, I'm just going to read the English translation. This is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 7, text number 32. You ready? Say yes. Yes. Thank you. When the cowherd men of Vrindavan, under instruction of Krishna, stopped offering sacrifices to the heavenly king, Indra, the whole tract of land known as Braj was threatened with being washed away by constant heavy rains for 7 days. Lord Krishna, out of his causeless mercy upon the inhabitants of Braj, held up the hill known as Govardhan. Okay, good. With one hand only, although he was only 7 years old. He did this to protect the animals from the onslaught of water. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Children play with an umbrella generally known as a frog's umbrella. Have you ever heard of that before? I hadn't heard about it either. So I looked it up on the internet. And guess what I found? Nothing. Apparently, then I found one reference. It was to a French version of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It was called, frog's umbrella in French is called parapluie genouillé. So that means a parapluie is an umbrella, and a genouillé is a frog. Right. So it's a frog. It's a mushroom. It's a mushroom. So picking up a mushroom is a frog's umbrella, like a child may. I don't know if you've ever, when you were a kid, did you ever pick up a mushroom? Yeah, okay, like that. So the idea is that it's effortless. It's so light and small and effortless. Okay. Lord Krishna, when he was only 7 years old, could snatch the great hill known as Govardan Parvat at Vrindavan and hold it for 7 days continuously with one hand, just to protect the animals and the inhabitants of Vrindavan from the wrath of who? Indra, that's right. The heavenly king, who had been denied sacrificial offerings by the inhabitants of Brajabhumi. We're going to come back to this, so please pay attention here. Factually, there is no need of offering sacrifices to the demigods. Wow. For their services, if one is engaged in the service of the Supreme Lord. Sacrifices recommended in the Vedic literature for satisfaction of the demigods are a sort of inducement to the sacrificers to realize the existence of higher authorities. Did you get that? Yeah. Okay. The demigods are engaged by the Lord as controlling deities of material affairs. And according to the Bhagavad Gita, when a demigod is worshipped, the process is accepted as indirect method for worshiping the Supreme Lord. I don't know if you know the Bhagavad Gita verse. Does anyone know that Bhagavad Gita verse specifically? Gokulananda Prabhu? Okay, I'm sorry. It goes very next verse. Yepi anya devata bhakta. Yepi anya other gods, those who worship other anya devata bhakta, yajanti shraddhayanvita, and they may worship him with great faith. They're very good devotees of whoever it might be. Tepi mam eva konteya, but those sacrifices are actually meant for me. Tepi mam eva, certainly. Konteya, yajanti avidi purvakam, but they're offered. Avidhi means without proper ways, indirect, without proper doing. Indirect. But when the Supreme Lord is worshipped directly, there is no need of worshiping the demigods or offering them sacrifices, as might be recommended in particular circumstances. Lord Krishna therefore advised the inhabitants of Brajabhumi not to offer any sacrifices to the heavenly king, Indra. But Indra, not knowing Lord Krishna in Brajabhumi, was angry at the inhabitants of Brajabhumi and tried to avenge the offense. What was the offense? Were you listening?
Not offering.
What's that?
Not offering the prayers.
Not offering the sacrifice right there. Yeah, good. Okay. But competent as the Lord was, he saved the inhabitants and animals of Brajabhumi by his personal energy and proved once and for all, definitely, that anyone directly engaged as a devotee of the Supreme Lord need not satisfy any other demigods, however great. even to the level of Brahma or Shiva. Thus, this incident definitely proved, without a doubt, that Lord Krishna is the personality of Godhead, and that he was so in all circumstances. As a child on the lap of his mother, as a boy 7 years old, and as an old man of 125 years of age. In either case, he was never on the level of an ordinary man, and even in his advanced age, he appeared as a young boy of 16. Thank you. These are the particular features of the transcendental body of the Lord. Okay. Usually we say some prayers before we say, So I have lived in the deepest, darkest regions of ignorance for many years of my life and in previous lives. But my spiritual master has very kindly opened my eyes and allowed me to glimpse spiritual reality with the shining lamp of transcendental knowledge. I first offer my respectful obeisances unto him. That's his Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Jena Tasmaya Shri Gurave Namaha. I also offer a prayer to my spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, that he may help make my words valuable and uplifting, though I am unqualified. Mukam karoti vachalo, pangulang hayate girim, yat kripatamaham bande, Shri Gurum Dinatara. Each one of us is going through life, treading our different paths, going in one direction or another, seeking happiness, fulfillment, love, meaning, and permanence. We busy ourselves in our particular occupational, school, and recreational pursuits, customs, and habits as the sun unceasingly rises and sets, and as we grow and age within the passing of time, ultimately concluding our sojourn in this body at death. Along the way, and at certain times, it's a good idea to pause for a few moments, step back, and take a clear look at the progress we've made, and perhaps consider adjusting the course of our lives in a small or major way to increase the likelihood of attaining the goal. Do you follow? Amid these festivities, celebrations, and family get-togethers, observances like today's of Govardan Puja give us just such an opportunity through hearing about the spiritual subject matters, Krishna Katha. It will be important to focus on what life lessons are available by deeply reflecting on the activities commemorated on this day. How might they impact our lives and possibly even prompt a change in our trajectory going forward? That it has the potency to do so is clearly communicated by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita when he says, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yoveti tattvata chakva deham punar janma naiti mam eti sojuna. Someone who understands, in truth, the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities upon leaving this body will never take birth again in this material world. Of this there is no doubt. Krishna describes also in the Bhagavad Gita the symptoms of a wise person. Amanitvam madambitvam. You know this. Then he says, Janma mrityu jara vyadhi, dukkha doshanudarshanam. A person who's wise is always cognizant that around the corner are these things called old age, disease, and death. Yeah. When Vishvamitra Muni came to see Dasharat, you know Maharaj Dasharat? Yeah. So usually when you see an old somebody, a friend or a respectable person, you say, "How's it going? How are things? How's your business?" Right? So Dasharat Maharaj said, he didn't say, he said, "How are your progress? How is your progress in stopping the cycle of repeated birth and death?" Purna Janma Jayaya. So that's what this. We have some topics like this. So one lesson from we heard about a brief summary of the pastime of what happened when Lord Krishna encouraged the cowherd men not to worship Indra, but to offer sacrifice to Govardan hill. So what happened as a result up in the heavenly kingdom? You remember? You know? Come on, you know. Come on, you know. What happened? Oh my God! Indra had a temper outburst, wasn't it? Yeah. And even though Indra is a responsible officer in the universal government, who is a devotee after all, and who offered, think about this, he offered prayers to Krishna when Krishna was in the womb of Devaki, just a short time before. Think about this. Think about it. But even he became inimical to the Supreme Personality of Godhead to the point that he enacted plans to kill him, along with all of his friends and associates. How did this happen? Indra has a big position. Extensive riches, palaces, and power with universal influence. Despite his being a devotee, he was carried away by his material opulence and position, and thus he forgot his subordinate role to the Supreme Lord and acted just like a demon, committing great offenses to the Lord and his associates. There's a nice verse in Bhagavad Gita in the 2nd chapter. It goes, Bhog Aishvarya Prasaktana. You know that verse? Very nice verse. Tayapahita Chetasa. Vyavasayapika buddhi ekeha samadha navadhiyate. Yeah. A person who's too much attached to material opulence and material pleasures, they cannot develop spiritual advancement and get the necessary focus on devotion to the Supreme Lord. So, what triggered the attack? What triggered this attack by Indra was simply Krishna diverted just one offering, just one, not a lot, just one. How many people are offering sacrifice to Indra? All over the universe. One offering from Indra to Govardhan hill. Although he himself was the offender, Indra accused Lord Krishna of being the culprit, rationalizing his heavy reprisals. Similar dynamics can befall anyone on the spiritual or devotional path. Carried away by false pride derived from temporary wealth, power, or prestige, with even a slight provocation, one may offend the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees. Therefore, Queen Kunti said, Janmaishvarya Shruta Shribir Edhamana Madapuman. You know, the Naivarhati Apidatu Vai Twam Akinchana Gochara. You know that verse? Very nice verse. She says, Oh Lord Krishna, you are approached, but it's very difficult for you to be approached by someone who is making progress and thinking they're very proud about their birth. Janma, Aishwarya, their wealth. Shruta, their education. Shri, their beauty, their beautiful nature. Those people they're very difficult to attain. But Twam Akinchana Gochara, you're the property of those who are bereft of opulence in the material world. Generally, devotees are not ambitious to obtain a considerable position, power, and wealth, knowing it can cause them to become falsely proud and divert them from pleasing Lord Krishna. It is not that they don't ever get wealth or position, but we are very careful to use those gifts in Krishna's service, lest we fall from the path of advancement. You follow? That was lesson 1, right? Lesson 1. Okay. Another important lesson is that there is no need to worship any other powerful person, demigod, or other gods. God is one and the source of everything, and the maintainer of all persons, all beings. The Vedic language is Nityo, Nityanam. You know this? Chetanas, Chetananam. There's one supreme eternal, and everybody else is the subordinate eternals. One supreme consciousness, and everybody is subordinate consciousness. Eko bahunam yo vidadati kaman. And that one supreme eternal, that one supreme consciousness is maintaining all the others. Yes. God is one, the source of everything. It is not that Krishna is God for the Hindus, different from the God of the Christians, Jewish, or Muslims. Krishna is God for all people. People have a poor fundamental knowledge about Lord Krishna because of a lack of proper guidance from bona fide religious teachers, and they become baffled about him. They think, how can God come to the earth? How is it possible? But if God is all powerful, who will restrict him from coming if he wants to come? The Son is one and the same for all people, even though some primitive societies think the sun, born from the eastern horizon, in the winter is different than it is in the summer. Why is that?
It's colder.
It's cooler in this. Yeah. Because the weaker sun in the summer feels cooler. But it's the same sun. Similarly, Krishna is the same God for all. And that God, that is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in this pastime, he demonstrates that position. So, no need to worship any other demigods means not required or recommended for those who are sincerely interested in spiritual advancement. For those who are interested to remain in the material world of birth and death, okay, but not for those who are aspiring to associate with God in the spiritual realm, Vaikuntha. There are many elevated beings, including demigods, celebrities, sports figures, political leaders, and even notorious criminals that we may pay homage to and worship through spending considerable amount of our time thinking about, conversing about, hearing about, reading about, or donating to through campaigns or tickets to events. However, doing so will definitely not give us any truly beneficial result, as noted by Lord Krishna in this Govardan Leela. These forms of worship will not save us from the cycle of birth and death, samsara. That Lord Krishna reminds us of this, and not for party politics, but it is for our own benefit. Therefore, Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Man mana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Always think of me. Become my devotee. Madhyaji means worship me. Mam namaskuru, offer your obeisances to me. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu. Mam anusmara yudhyacha. At all times, think of me. In this way, surely you will come to me. Ekala Ishar Krishna Asha Britya. There's one Supreme Lord. Everybody else is subordinate. So, it's very interesting that Nanda Maharaj, Lord Krishna's father, initially advocated the worship of Indra and supported it by saying, you know what he said? It was tradition. It's tradition. I think there's some song about it. Tradition. Right? It is common for family traditions to include worshiping various powerful people, demigods, politicians, the latter of which you can see on people's altars. Sometimes you'll find Mahadev, Durga, Kali, Ganapati, Lord Krishna, but Lord Krishna has through this pastime emphasized curtailing that worship in spite of it perhaps being a family tradition. You follow? Then Nanda Maharaj proposed having a separate worship for Indra and another one for Govardan Hill. But you know what happened? Lord Krishna said, no. Why? Do you remember? Why? He said, there's no time. And the resources are limited. Yeah, the resources are limited. If that was true thousands of years ago, when, according to the Vedic literature, people's lives are much longer duration and there were many more resources, what to speak of today? You follow? What to speak of today? Srimad Bhagavatam describes Kali Yuga this way. Prayinalt ayushak shabya kalavasmin yuge jana manda sumanda mateo manda bhyagya kupurutaha. In this age of Kali, alpa ayusha means their life duration is small. Alpa prayinalt alpa shabya kalavasmin manda. And in this age, we're dull. We're dull-minded. Me and you. Manda. Sumanda Mateo means falsely bad leaders. I say, you know, false bad leaders. Sumanda Manda Bhagya. No resources. No resources. Unlucky. And always agitated. So in Kali Yuga, even more than at the time of Krishna, Lord Krishna's time, we don't have time to get diverted to other things. This with the resources or our efforts. So, therefore, the recommended process for spiritual progress is not to be diverted to other activities, but to focus on always remembering Krishna. Not just on one day like today, but by every day. How? By chanting the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The verse is Hare Nama, Eva Kevalam, Nasteva, Gatiranyata. In the days of Kali Yuga, there's nothing, there's no other method. So these are the two essential parts of Govardhan Puja. Krishna's associates offered a mountain of myriad wonderful vegetarian preparations to Govardhan, and Lord Krishna then appeared in a separate form on top of Govardhan Hill and declared that Govardhan to be none other than himself. And then he ate all the offerings. And you know what he said after he ate all those offerings? Aniyo! I want more! Give me more! And the residents of Vrindavan, they said, oh, we gave all these so much. They went and they cooked more and they brought. And he said, he finished that and he said, Aniyo! I want more! Then they brought Tulsi, and that was satisfactory. Okay. So, and the remnants of the offering, Govardhan Prasadam, they were then given to everyone, including the animals. His devotees then continued the Govardhan worship. How after they did all the offerings? They circumambulated the hill by chanting the holy names of Krishna and remembering the pastimes of Krishna. These two things. So, Prasadam and Kirtan were the essential ingredients of this Govardhan Puja. Therefore, there's a nice verse in the Purana that says, Atashri Krishna Namadi na bhave grayam indriyai sevamukheti jivadao swayameva sparatyada. Krishna cannot be approached with our materially blunt senses. Grayam indriyai sevamukheti jivado. But he can be approached when we purify the senses. How? Beginning by purifying the tongue. The tongue has two businesses, vibrating and tasting. So vibrate the holy name and taste Krishna Prasadam. And these are the essential elements of Govardhan Puja. So, in an attempt to punish Lord Krishna and his associates, Indra poured incessant torrential rains on Vrindavan. The residents of Vrindavan, including the cows and calves, were in great distress and cried out for Krishna. Hare Krishna! Yeah, it's like that. Just like that. Yeah. Then, Lord Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill with the little finger of his left hand without strain or effort, demonstrating being God. His devotees all took shelter of him under the Govardhan hill, and Indra continued his onslaught for 7 days. The devotees, there under the hill, you can imagine, relishing Krishna's continuous association for the entire time, felt no hunger or thirst, and were happy under the protection of Krishna, and as both Krishna himself and Govardhan, that was also Krishna, right? And had no fear of death. As Lord Krishna is Govardhan hill, similarly, Lord Krishna and his holy name are non-different. As the residents of Vrindavan remain protected with Krishna and under Krishna as Govardhan hill, we can remain under the shelter of the holy name, just like the devotees under the hill. You follow? You got it, right? We can remain under the shelter of the holy name regularly and constantly, and by so doing, we can attain eternal life in association with Krishna. Tesam satatayuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhiyogam tam yena mamu prayantite. To those who are constantly or regularly devoted, engaged in my service, satatayuktanam, with love, I give them the understanding of the ability to come to me. Krishna says. All right. That's the end of my talk. But I'm supposed to say something about Srinathji. I know it's late. I'm already 5 minutes over, but the arti was 5 minutes longer, so. Okay. Lord Krishna was living in Dwarka, and then he had, his first son was named, what's that? Pradyumna. And Pradyumna had a son, and his name was? And his son was named? What? Vajra. Vajra was his name. So Vajra, as it happened, after Lord Krishna, during the time of Lord Krishna's disappearance, most of the Yadu dynasty destroyed themselves and went back to Godhead. But Vajra didn't. He became the king in the area of Mathura. And while he was the king of Mathura, he established a number of deities. Maybe you know the exact number. I don't know the exact number. But there's a deity called Shakshi Gopal. That deity was established by the great-grandson of Krishna. And Govindaji was established by the great-grandson of Krishna. And also, this is Srinathji or Govardhanachi. That was established by the grandson of Lord Krishna, Vajra, on top of Govardhan Hill. Now time passed, and there was the Muslim invasion, and at the time they were smashing all the deities. So some of the pujaris of Srinathji brought him and hid him in the forest. And there he stayed for many, many years, through the hot and the summer and the winter, everything. So one day a devotee came through the area, a very great devotee in the line of Brahma Madhva Sampradaya. His name was Madhavendra Puri. And he was chanting japa under a tree in Vrindavan and fasting. So in the morning, a young boy came and said, "What are you doing fasting?" Nobody fasts in this area. So he brought a pot of milk. And he said, "I'll be back for that pot. I'll be back for that." So he drank the milk, and Madhavendra Puri was waiting, but he didn't come back. So after a while, in the night, he fell asleep, and he had a dream. And that dream was, Srinathji was calling him, saying, "I've been waiting for you so long, for years and years. Please come and get me. I'm in the forest, and I need you to come and get me and be back into my home." So, Madhavendra Puri, you might have a dream like that. We won't have like that. I don't know. But this was a real dream, spiritual dream. So in the morning, he went to the townspeople, and he got them all behind him, and they came and they were going through the forest, and there they cleared an area, and there was Srinathji. And they brought him back to Govardhan, and they reinstalled him on Govardhan Hill. And you know what they did when they reinstalled him there? Annakud. They had an Annakud festival just like we're having today, like Govardhan Puja, offering all these wonderful preparations like it's being done there. So, and so that deity, now that deity is there in Nathdwara in Rajasthan, because later, again, there was some trouble from the Mughal kings, and so they were worried that he was going to get smashed again, so they brought him to Nagaland, which is kind of, it was under the auspices of Rana Pratap at the time, the different Hindu king. So there you can see still have the darshan of Srinathji since thousands of years ago. So, Hare Krishna. Shri Govardan Ji ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Let's give a big round of applause to Guru. So now, before I make the announcement, there is a car plate number FW5974 is parked between the handicap space. Do you know who that is? Please remove immediately or it will be towed. FW5974. I don't know. That's all it's written here. So today's feast is cooked by temple devotees. Let's give them a big round of applause. Right after this announcement, we're going to start having the Govardan Hill Aarti and Parikrama. That's why the barricade is there, so please be very gentle in doing the Parikrama. After the Parikrama, we're going to have the normal, what we do every evening. What do we do every evening? Damodar. Wow, somebody is paying attention. So that's going to go till 7:45. And then at 7:45, there will be fireworks outside. So all kids should and must be accompanied and managed by their parents in order to get the fireworks. So make sure kids are not left alone. They should be attended by the parents. Some other announcements. Every Tuesday, we are having at 7 p.m. Mahabharata studies by His Grace Kirtiraj Prabhu. November 10th, that is Saturday, we are having a 24-hour kirtan in honor of Srila Prabhupada's disappearance day on Sunday, November 11th. So the 24 hours kirtan will go from Saturday at 10 a.m. continue till next day 10 a.m. and then we're having Prabhupada Disappearance Day in the morning, and also because this is Sunday, so we'll be having Sunday feast also. Wednesday Kirtan and Thursday study, Wednesday Kirtan every week, and Thursday is Prabhupada's Lilamrita, 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. Last but not the least, we all know, we announced last Sunday that December 1st, we're going to have our lordships to move to the new temple. We need a lot of help on Friday, November 30th. So please, if you can take a day off or if you can come early in the evening, prasadam will be served here, dinner will be there for you all. So please come and help us. We need a lot of things. So the inauguration of the new temple with the deities procession, all these things will start in the morning around 10 o'clock. The detail will be given to you. Giri Govardan ki jai. And again, thank you very much for coming this evening. So we're going to start the Aarti, and like we said, we're going to try to remain as punctual as we can. 7:45, we'll do the down, up to 7:45 we'll do the download stuff. So, I don't know how we're going to do. Well, parikrama going on, we'll start offering the lamp. So we're going to do the parikrama, and then as soon as you hear the prayer started, you can start offering the lamps. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, please stand up and do the parikrama while standing up.
How are we going to do particles sitting down? Oh, mentally? Roll around. Roll it off our base. Oh, no, we can't do that then. It's good without him. We'll be solid, yes. Yeah. No. You haven't finished. You're spraying it because you're older, you do it, and everybody follows you.
Namaste, Saraswati Deve, Gauravani, Pracharine, Nirvishesha, Shunyavani, Asthakadesha, Harine. Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta
Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya, Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya, Govinda Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya, 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 Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya. Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya, 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 Radha Ramana Hari, Govinda Jaya Radha-ramana Hari, Govinda Jaya Jaya. 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 Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala 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 Jaya Jaya. Govinda Jaya Jaya, Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya. Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya. Radha-ramana Hari, Govinda Jaya Jaya. Radha-ramana Hari, Govinda Jaya Jaya. Radha-ramana Hari, Govinda Jaya Jaya. Radha-ramana Hari, Radha-ramana Hari, Govinda Jaya Jaya. Radha-ramana Hari, Govinda Jaya Jaya. Gopala Jaya Jaya. Govinda Jaya
Hare Krishna, please have a seat now. So we are going to have Damodar.
Yashoda Bhiyo Ladhamama Yashoda Bhiyo Ladhamama Yashoda Bhiyo Detam Bindaratam Detam Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram.
Hare Krishna. Thank you again very much for coming this evening. So now we are going to have fireworks outside. I think they already started. The kids, those who are going, please, parents should follow the kids. And again, thank you very much for all the Matajis and Prabhus who have helped with the Govardan hill, all the prasadam and everything. Thank you very much again. So now we will go and have 5 seconds fireworks, and then we'll come back here for prasadam. Giri Govardan ki! Giri Govardan ki! That's Giri Govardan ki!
বড়গুলো কোথায় বড়গুলো পুলিশ চলে আসবে, পুলিশ চলে আসবে।
If you want to go outside, you have to come from the other side.
एक मिनट करते हैं इस तरफ जाओ, एक मिनट। थैंक यू।
Venga, dame, venga, dame.
Sorry, Martin.
Yeah, she got it. The garment. Take, somebody take. That's lovely. You hold in my hand, it's much like a problem. Down, put down.